Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. It is Thursday, June the 29th. Only 2 more days left in the month of June. Wow. You know what that means? It's getting close to football season, Doug. There's my buddy over there, Doug Upstone. He's with me every Thursday from DocSports.com. Doug, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Ross, and it's hard to believe, isn't it? July 1st on Saturday, and what is it? College football will be about 7 weeks. Then I think it is. I
Yep.
think from there is when the first games are. It's right around there. There might be eight, but somewhere's in there, and then NFL just a little over 2 months. From there. So here we go. Time to start doing the homework, and at least for me and stuff like that, and just get things going. So it's
Absolutely.
exciting time of year for that stuff.
Certainly is, and I'm looking forward to it as well. Although living in the northeast part of the country, we don't want to rush the process too much
Oh,
because
I couldn't agree with you more on that. I mean, forget all that other nice stuff.
yeah,
It'll come as it comes. But
yes, it
yeah,
does.
I don't know about you. I don't live and die for the start of the football season. I'd like to see it come and everything else. But I mean, it's doing this. You have a lot of other things that you're still doing.
Yeah,
So
sure.
you enjoy your time off as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at no matter what business you're in or how successful you are within that business, you always need to re-energize. You need
Yes.
to give your brain a break, and this is the time of year where you back off a little bit. And like I've been on a horrible run, Doug, since last Monday. Not this past Monday, the Monday before. I think I've won one game. I went 1-10 with my last 11 baseball plays, and today I finally decided, look. Unless something jumps right off at the board, I'm going to sit back, take a day off. And this has been my experience. I take a day off, sit back, give the mind a rest, and then go back at it tomorrow. And usually that produces good results in the
Yep.
past. So, having said that, it's not like we don't take baseball seriously, but it's not as time consuming at this time of year. There's times when we have to deal with the NBA, college basketball, NFL, college football, NHL, and Major League Baseball playoffs all simultaneously. So
Yep.
that's what we're saying. It's not like we're on vacation at this time of year, but it's a welcome break a little bit from the rough and tumble world of the fall months. So anyway, Doug, before we get to you, let's talk about this. This is the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. You are watching the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, and it is powered by gamblersworld.com. Be sure to give us a like at the end of the video as a small token of appreciation for our work. And folks, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, I don't know why you wouldn't, because you're privy to some of the best handicappers in the country. The roster is going to be added before football season as well. Many more shows coming football season that you're seeing now. And it's all the best part about it all. It's free, Doug. Everybody likes free. Anyway, my friend, any thoughts before we get into our fact or fiction segment? Any other thoughts in the world of sports betting or sports in general?
No, nothing, not a whole heck of a lot seemingly going on. It's interesting that the perfect game yesterday certainly
Oh
was
yeah.
that was eventful. That was a highlight of sorts in the for the baseball season. Now, I can't say it's a surprise it came against Oakland per se, but still, anytime that comes about, that's always entertaining. And quite honestly, I've actually had the good fortune to see a no hitter, and it was the rarest of no hitters in this, and it was live, by the way. I was at the game, but the rarest of no hitters, there was not one strikeout.
Wow.
So
Who
I
who
know.
did you see throw a no hitter?
Ken Holtzman of the Cubs,
Oh wow, many years ago, the
and
lefty,
many,
tall,
many, many years
the
ago.
tall
Yes,
lefty. Yeah. Wow.
yes, and he actually threw two in his career, as a matter of fact. But that one happened because we were there at the game because it was my dad's birthday, and so we just happened to be there, and so just yeah, that was
Was that the
interesting. And there's
Leo DeRocher led Cubs teams
Yeah,
back?
yes, he was the manager of the team, and
Wow.
in fact, and they played Atlanta that particular day, and I literally remember it like it happened yesterday, and it's on YouTube and stuff like that. But the wind was blowing in a little bit from left field, and Hank Aaron was with the Braves then at the time. He hit a ball that was, I mean, it was a home run. Okay. I mean, it was a home run. The wind blew it back. People aren't, I'm not going to go through all the names, because people don't care because that's so long ago. But the guy was in the ivy, the left fielder, and literally all you could see was his arm because his whole body was buried into the ivy. And he catches the ball at the top of the arc. And Hank Aaron, because we were sitting in the upper third base side, and Hank Aaron gets to second base and he just kicks it. He was so disgusted because he knew he hit a home run.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was, I think, this eighth inning. Yeah, in fact, it was the eighth inning. So he knew he hit it out, but it just didn't go out. It was his lucky day,
So
for Ken Holtzman anyway.
He's describing a game from the 1970s. I don't know the specific year. Maybe Doug does.
1969, as a matter of fact.
69. That's the year the Cubs had a big lead in the National League, and they blew it to the amazing Mets, who ended up winning.
Yeah, that's what I called them.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you did. Anyway, yeah, good memories there. And, to this day, folks, Doug just described a situation to you at Wrigley Field. And to this day, games played at Wrigley Field, they're the only totals that don't get released until the morning of the game. It's for exactly those unpredictable wind conditions, not only in the city of Chicago, that's why they call it the Windy City, but at Wrigley Field specifically, because I don't think the old Comiskey Park in is it U.S. Cellular now?
It's actually Guaranteed Rate Park. But the 35th and Shields is further inland. And if you ever saw a map of Chicago, I mean, Wrigley Field's close to the lake. Okay. And that's what the deal is, because it's so close to the lake, and the winds can shift. They can come in out of the north or northwest, blowing in. They can turn around and come from the south. And in the summertime, when it heats up, if they come out of the southwest, well, that's pitcher's worst nightmare. And the totals are going to be like 12 or 13, if not more, when that happens on those games, because that's just how it is at Wrigley Field.
You look at today's total, went up to 10. It began at 9 last night. It's up to 10, and right there. And the pitching matchup isn't bad whatsoever. It's starting pitching matchup there. No. And
doesn't mean it's not over though. That's always the tricky part.
That's true. But that does indicate to you there's a good chance the wind is blowing out. So you want to double.
Everybody's got an elevated swing on game day for that one.
Launch angle, right? Whatever. Anyway, look, it takes me to this. The NFL suspended 4 players today for gambling. 3 of them were betting on NFL games. I have no qualms with that whatsoever, because that would take away from the integrity and the morality of the game, and it borders on inside information and all the conspiracy theorists out there. You have to uphold that. You have to be strict with that. I have no issue. Here's what I do have an issue with. A Titans offensive lineman, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correct, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but his name isn't the most important part of the point I'm trying to make, more than the suspension he received today. His name is Nicholas Petit Friere. I want to pronounce his name and if I butchered his name, I apologize to all the Titans fans out there and that gentleman himself. But he was suspended for 6 games today because they found him to be betting on sports, non-NFL related, within the team's facility. Okay. Now, I'm not arguing, Doug, that he broke the letter of the law, because obviously he did. I am arguing with the law itself. I mean, you're going to tell me if this guy stopped at a red light a mile away from the facility and put that bet in, he wouldn't be suspended and by driving another mile and sitting down in his locker and putting the bet in. I don't know specifically if that's where he put it in, but you get my point. That is a suspension, or worthy of a suspension, I should say. I just don't get it. I think that they need to look at that law or rule, whatever you want to call it, and rethink that, because that to me doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense. But that's me. I'm biased when it comes to sports betting to start with. Fact or fiction? that's not a good rule.
It's well, I mean, I think it has to be taken in context. In the how you explained it and everything, it does seem silly in that context. I do, and I know you agree with this as well, is that every player has been made has been made known to them
Yep.
about the rules. Okay, if they violate them, something's conceivably can happen. So they all know that. In this case, there's four individuals specifically that violated those rules, and so they're being punished. Now, of course, people can say the hypocrisy of the NFL taking gambling money and all this and all that, and that's a point I won't disagree with that either. However, I don't know what the boundaries are. I'm not an absolutist when it comes to rules, okay? Because people say, well, that's the rules. Well, okay, and you and I've had this discussion before. If you got stopped for going 27 to 25 in a school zone on a day that there was no school, okay, but the policeman happened to be there, and you got a ticket, then you have no complaint, right? I mean, because you broke the law. Limit.
Yeah.
Right. So from that standpoint, here's one question that I do have though. Okay, what would happen if an owner, okay, was placing a bet while he was at the facility, okay, and the NFL found out about it, okay?
I don't know the law.
Would that person be suspended? Okay, I don't know the answer to that, but yeah. I know what I think it should be. If it's good enough for the players, I mean, let's face it, Russ, we both know this. The NFL, in part, is doing this to uphold the integrity of the game because now that they're taking in gambling money, they want to make sure that they look like they're free and clear and they're taking care of everything and everyone. But like in almost all facets of life, in terms of the hierarchy of how things go, the people that are not at the top are more likely to be the ones that are going to get in trouble for having violations of what their contract or rules of their contract are.
Yeah, well put. Okay, and I just want to clarify. And I don't disagree with anything you said, Doug. Even though it errs on what I believe not to be a justifiable situation. Let me be clear, right, though. Okay, let me be perfectly clear. I understand that player, and again, 4 players got suspended. I'm talking about the one player who was betting on non-NFL games within the facility, not the other 3 that were betting on NFL games itself. There's a distinct difference there. And there's a reason why they were suspended for the year while this player was only suspended for 6 games. I don't have an argument as to, okay, he broke the law. Does he deserve a suspension? Yes. As Doug said, he knew the rules going in. Why would you jeopardize it? My thought process is you need to rethink that, in my opinion. And again, folks, chime in, give us your feedback, because this is a gray area. It's not a gray area in terms of whether somebody broke the rule or not, because in all 4 instances, it's clear they did. It's a gray area in terms of I'm saying no. NFL players should not be allowed to bet on NFL games. It takes away from the integrity of the game, as Doug says. And number 2, it brings out all the conspiracy theorists from under the woodwork. What I'm saying is I find it difficult. It's like Doug described, the 27 and the 25 with no school that day, okay? By the letter of the law, you broke the law. But by the same token, how dangerous is it driving 2 miles over the speed limit when there's no school? In this particular instance, you're going to tell me if this player made those same bets on non-NFL games a block down the road instead of within the facility, that it's okay. There's something logically wrong with that equation. So I'd be interested to hearing your thoughts on that. And Doug is right. The NFL, in terms of being hypocritical, I don't know who's more hypocritical, the NFL or the NCAA, because both of those organizations and the hierarchy, as Doug alluded to, were totally against sports betting or their particular sports, specific sports, being legalized to bet on within the United States, outside of the state of Nevada. They were totally opposed to it. All of a sudden, the Sports Gaming Commission comes back and says, okay, we'll give you 1% of the total revenue bet on your sport. And boy, oh boy, if things changed. We were overindulged with fantasy sports commercials. Now, everywhere you turn on every sports channel, there's a sports book commercial. And that's great for me and great for Doug and great for you out there, because if you're watching, you love sports betting. But in terms of hypocritical, boy, oh boy. Anyway, Doug, back to you, my friend.
All right, so I have this is on a lighter note, okay, a fact or fiction for you. All right, so obviously we know Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback of the New York Jets, and so this season, I looked it up, hit for passing yards, his total is over or under 4,000 for the season. Okay, so that number is not as let's just say prolific as it was in the past, especially going from 16 to 17 games, because now we're down to 236 yards per game to break that if he plays all 17 games. So my question to you, Ross, is it a fact that Aaron Rodgers will throw for over 4,000 yards this year, okay, for the New York Jets in terms for their offense?
That is a tough one. I'm going to lean on the side of fiction because, like you said, the key there is staying healthy for 17 games at his age. Now, he's been a durable quarterback, and he's shown the ability to play on one, if he has to, on one leg. It doesn't matter. If he can get out there and physically play, he does. However, he's going to be facing a whole different animal in the AFC, which is much tougher than what he's seen in the NFC the last 2 years. So just based on those 2 points alone, I'm going to lean toward him going under 4,000. So I'm going to say fiction, but not with a lot of conviction.
Yes. Understandable. And you know what? I agree with you on that, because here's the thing. Last year, the previous, I think it's 5 years, the previous 5 times that he's played basically a full season. The one year he got injured, only I think played 7 or 8 games that year. He's passed over 4,000 yards in those instances. Last year was a little over 3,600 last year with a complete new cast of receivers. I think the offense is still going to be run oriented with the Jets. Okay. I think they're going to look to protect their quarterback, which makes sense at his age, have a running game, establish the run. He's going to be throwing to some familiar receivers for him, but it's going to be also a new type offense. It's sure there's going to be principles he's going to be familiar with, but just overall. So yeah, I'm going to lean under also with this one on with you on this one, Ross.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, because we are talking about the Green Bay Packers today. Doug will be covering the Packers very shortly, so stay tuned for that.
See right there, I come dressed for success when Ross gives me an assignment.
He's a human billboard, let me tell you, folks. Anyway, my question to you is, you've been a Packers fan for many, many years. That doesn't mean you're not objective these days in the line of work you're in, but you're more familiar with them more than any other franchise over the course of the last 3 decades or so. And I think that's fair to say. I got to say, his cast of receivers he has with the Jets this year is a much more formidable group than what he's had in Green Bay. Maybe, last year especially. Okay.
Yes.
No Devontae Adams last year, and you saw the struggles of the Green Bay offense last year comparatively of what people are used to when watching a Green Bay offense with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. True or false, Doug? I mean, I think that this is why don't say he'll go under with a ton of conviction, because he does have the weapons. Now, the point is what you made is, they're probably going to be a little more run oriented than the Green Bay offense was, even though I don't think it'll be that far off, because Green Bay had a pretty darn good running game.
Right. Oh yeah. The Packers ran the ball,
but
they tried to run the ball.
Do you agree that he has a better cast of wide receivers going into the season than he had?
Well, he does, just say generally speaking as a group, but it's still, no matter what, it still takes time for continuity, and I mean, and if it takes, let's just say 4 games, okay,
Yeah.
to establish a continuity. Well, if it just so happens that, that's that those 4 games, well, that can be the difference between getting over or under 4,000.
Yeah.
From that standpoint. So, because I mean, I don't think anybody's looking at this team and going to say that on average you're going to be throwing for 300 yards a game.
No.
Even I mean,
That
he hasn't thrown
let
for
me
over
tell you
300
something.
in almost 2 years.
Right. And if that's the case, they're in trouble, the Jets.
Right.
Because for them to be a playoff team, if Aaron Rodgers is throwing 8 or 10 games over 300 yards, now there's exceptions to the rule, and you smart asses out there are going to chime in and say, what about Patrick Mahomes? I get it, okay? But for the most part, if you look over the annals of history, when guys have to pass consistently for 300 yards, most times than not, they're around a 500 team because they're playing from behind and they're a one-dimensional offense, which eventually will be easy to figure out. And a lot of those yards come at garbage time when they're behind and defenses are playing soft. So, all right, enough of that, Doug. Let's get to your pick.
Right.
The Green Bay Packers. The over and under, according to FanDuel, as of 10 minutes ago, and we're recording now, it's around 4:45 p.m. Eastern time. The Green Bay Packers over 7.5 at odds of -122, or under 7.5 at +100. What say you, Doug?
All right. Well, I'm looking at this, the Green Bay Packers, and this franchise, because they don't have a true owner, they're unencumbered by, so let's just say what some of the other teams that have owners in terms of how they go about their business. For example, the Packers have had opportunities the last few years to go all in. They did not. Okay. They didn't do like what the Rams did a couple of years ago. They take few risks, and there's always an eye on the future. Now, since 1992, with rare exception, it's been Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, arguably the 2 best quarterbacks of their era, or among of their era. Okay, from that standpoint, chances of Jordan Love being the third, well, I would say they're almost none. From the standpoint of being a Hall of Fame quarterback. And besides that, it's going to take some time for Love to develop chemistry. Now, all these are young guys we're basically talking about. I expect the Packers offense to very much resemble what Matt LaFleur likes to do, and even further, and even, let's just say, copy what San Francisco has done further, running the ball to set up a pass. I think that they have some nice looking receivers, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs in particular. I still think they need a tight end. With more of an emphasis on running, I think the offensive line has to be more physical coming into the season. Last year, they were okay in doing that, but I think this group, they just need to be able to be, as I said, more physical. They were 15th in scoring. Now, defensively, Packers, they got 8 number 1 draft picks, okay, over the years. 8, okay? That's crazy, okay? Now, the defensive scheme, I'm surprised Joe Barry was brought back as defensive coordinator. I think he's done a little bit too much read and react. The Packers need to return to a top 10 defense against the run. Rashawn Gary's probably not going to be 100% until maybe later in the year. The defense of the linebackers, of the Packers, they're very talented, very athletic, but they don't. They didn't have great football instincts last year. Well, can those develop? Absolutely, young guys. Safety position remains in flux. Shut down corners, okay, both sides of the ball, including probably more often than not also against slot receiver. But you know what, Ross? I'm looking at this division, okay? The Lions are 9.5, okay, that win total. I think you did that. Was it yesterday? I believe you talked about the Lions. I have no idea if you went over under on that.
I went over, but I wasn't crazy about it.
Okay, all right. So, but I look at the Packers schedule, and they only have 4 games, 2 of them against the Lions, of which a team has a win total that's 2 games or higher than what theirs is. And then I look at when I looked at the divisions, other than the division was the NFC, the AFC North, that's the only one that is as tightly packed as what the NFC Central is. I'm sorry, North, NFC Central, old days. So you have that. So I'm looking at the Packers. I'm thinking, they got a favorable schedule to my way of thinking, and you know what? I think they will go over 7.5 on this one. And I'll even throw this one in, Ross. I am going to make a small bet on the Packers at plus 475 to win the division.
Yep.
I just don't see the Lions running away from it. I don't think Minnesota's much better, if at all better, than Green Bay overall, and Chicago is still working their way back. So I'm going to go over 7.5 for sure on this one, and then take them for a division title. And it has absolutely nothing to do with my feelings about the Packers as a fan versus a handicapper.
No, I get it. And, one of the popular handicapping items that I see is with NFL regular season win totals is to take whoever they're playing that year and add up all their regular season win totals, meaning if Detroit is 9.5, Minnesota is 7.5, and Chicago is 7.5, believe it or not. That's 15. That's 24.5 wins is the regular. You add those all up and you could really determine strength of schedule for the upcoming year by trusting the book or the odds makers for the major sports books. And that's what Doug is alluding to. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
So it's not an exact science, but that's certainly a very good starting point and a very good handicapping element that Doug just brought up. And I'm just reemphasizing as a good way to start when you're handicapping a regular season win total on a specific team. So there you have it. I mean, look, the defense, I have it written down here in my notes. Their defense is still formidable, and you covered that. My problem is with the 7.5 wins, and I get what you're saying, is, you have your top 6 receivers on the depth chart all have 2 years or less experience. Your top two tight ends on the depth chart are both rookies. Their offensive line has 2 veterans and 3 guys with 3 or less years of experience. So, and Jordan Love is this is the first time he's actually a number 1 starter. Okay, he has started games due to injury, but it's not because he earned a starting job. He's being handed the starting job. And I will say this, Doug. I will think that Green Bay is the most genius organization if this trend continues. They had Brett Favre. They drafted Aaron Rodgers number 1. They let him sit on the bench and watch for 3 years, which didn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people at that time. But what happened with Aaron Rodgers, he's a future Hall of Famer. Now they draft Jordan Love, which we all scratched our head a couple of years ago, number 1, when Aaron Rodgers was coming off an MVP season. And if he develops into a future Hall of Fame quarterback, I think that Green Bay has put the blueprint out there that when you draft a guy number 1 at quarterback, you let him sit and watch for a couple of years and let a veteran play, specifically speaking, veterans like Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. And good luck with finding 2 guys that had that prolonged career, that successful, and will both be in the Hall of Fame in Canton at the same time in the near future. So there you have it. All right, I'm going to look at the New York Football Giants. And I said it earlier in the week, and I think that people are convinced that I'm going under the total on the New York Giants. And if you know my way of thinking, when you see a team that was a playoff team a season ago, they went 9-7-1, they were upstart, they were a surprise team. And then their regular season win total is only 7.5. And then you look back at last year's results, and 8 of their 9 wins came by 8 points or fewer. So they only won 1 game that wasn't a 1-score game. So very easily that 9-7-1 could have been, I don't know, 7-9-1 at the very least. Then I look at their schedule, and I broke it down this way, Doug. They're going to be facing the AFC East. I got them winning both home games in the AFC East against the Jets in New England, and the Jets are a big question mark. I got it next to it, but I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt there, and it's really not a true home game. It's both teams' home field. And then I got them losing to Miami and Buffalo on the road, and I don't think too many people would argue with that. They have the NFC West, which they catch a break there because Arizona's terrible. Seattle, their offensive line's in shambles. Yes, they were a playoff team last year, but like the Giants, they were 9-8 and lucky to be there. And the Rams, who are in a free fall right now. And the only losing game I have for them against the NFC West is a game at San Francisco. So that's 3-1 against the NFC West, 2-2 against the AFC East. And within their division, I got them going 2-4. With their only 2 wins coming against Washington, I got Philly and Dallas sweeping them. And non-division games at Las Vegas, I got that as a win. At New Orleans, a loss. And at Green Bay, I got them winning that game. Okay, so my prediction is they're going to go 9-8. Not much better than they did last year. I don't even know if that's going to be good enough to make the playoffs, but I'm going to have a slight lean, okay? And when I say slight lean, I'm only saying that because usually I'll follow the odds makers' way of thinking. The team wins 9 games the year before. They're a playoff team. They're an upstart, and they should be better this year. But again, folks, their schedule is a little bit tougher this year than it was a year ago. And keep in mind, they won 8 games by 8 points or fewer last year out of their 9 wins. But even having said that, I'm going to go 9-8. I think Daniel Jones, he's going to continue his upward climb. I say that because of the progress I've seen last season. I say that because his head coach is Brian Dable, who worked wonders with Josh Allen. I'm not saying that Daniel Jones is going to be Josh Allen. I'm saying Daniel Jones will be the best version of himself with Brian Dable's guidance. And their wide receiver group, none of them are going to wow you, but they're 6 deep, which means they got quality depth. At any time, all 6 of those guys got NFL experience, and all 6 of them have some limited to a lot of success at the NFL level. And also their running back situation. If they get Saquon Barkley happy and signed and extended, he's going to make a world of difference. Otherwise, they got no running game because behind them, Matt Breida is their second string back, and Matt Breida is not going to take you to the promised land. And I don't know if he's going to be a type of guy who's durable enough to carry the ball 20 or more times a game. And, without that, now you're going to be one-dimensional and more predictable. And defensively, I love their front 3. I think Kayvon Thibodeau's got to step it up this year and show why he was drafted so highly. And their secondary is average at best, okay? There's some players that are pretty good and other players are inexperienced. Having said all that, I'm going to go over the total of 7.5. And the odds on that, folks, over 7.5 odds of -106. Doug's going over 7.5 on the Green Bay Packers at odds of -122. Doug, we got about 4 minutes. You want to comment on the Giants and then take us right into what you got coming up at Doc Sports?
Absolutely. So I'm not with you on there. I mean, I could make a case for the under, no question about it. I could see them being 7-10, but I'll lean with 8. Kind of like they find a way more than anything else, and that's going to be a lot of these totals this year, in my opinion. Looking at them as especially this far before even the preseason. So I'll agree with you there. So what's going on with me? Well, Doug Upstone at Doc Sports. I'm on a really nice run of baseball. Had a 3-0 sweep yesterday with a 7-unit best bet winner, 14-6 the last 8 days. Big plays 11-6. That's been really strong. Prop bet, missed my prop bet. First one that I've missed in 8. Okay, so 7-1 run prop bets, 10-4 longer term on that. So good stuff there. This weekend got USFL. I told you I've been doing great. Canadian football off to a great start. So got some good stuff, Ross. What about you?
I've been mirrored in a slump for about a week and a half now. And, I pound on my chest when I win. But as you all know, Doug, we're very transparent. We always will be. And I took today off. I took a pass because as we were talking off air, when I've experienced this in the past, I take a day off, step away for a day, unwind, re-energize, refocus, and jump in the next day. And majority of the time, things turn, and they turn for the good in a big way. And that's what I'm going to be doing starting tomorrow over at rbwins.com. That's where you could find all my premium paid selections. That's rbwins.com. Also, folks, once again, don't forget If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, there's a WC logo there right in the bottom right-hand corner of your page. Click on that. A subscribe button will come up. Hit the subscribe button. And while you're there, go into your YouTube settings and hit the notification bell, and you'll be notified immediately upon any of our Winner's Circle Sports Betting podcasts being published right here on the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel that's once again powered by gamblersworld.com. We'll go over to Gamblers World, folks. Not only will you see our daily podcast there, but podcasts of some other good handicappers as well. Jesse Schul puts up his stuff every day, and I know that Jim Quinn, the owner, gets Doug's stuff up on occasion from Doc Sports. So again, folks, that's gamblersworld.com. All right, Doug, I'll be back with you on Monday, and I will, I'm thinking we're going to be doing Major League Baseball at that time, but next Thursday we will be doing more NFL. We covered the NFC East and the NFC North this week. Next week, it'll be the NFC West and the NFC South we'll be covering with all of our handicappers right here on this channel. Thanks for joining us, folks. Take care and God bless.